I am Pam Aks, and I am a cutting edge mindset coach at an international practice called What's Within You. And the worst piece of advice I have ever been given is that networking events are the best way to build your business.
Oh, come on. I probably gave that advice. Why is that so bad?
Because it didn't work for me. It wasn't my thing. It wasn't my
So,
jam.
so why not? Like, what do you not like about networking events?
It's, you know, I'm going to say this. If networking events are your thing, let it be your thing. But I will tell you, when I would go to networking events, it felt more like let me get, not me, but other people, let me get my business card in your hand. I don't care about your business. I care about getting my business out there. And I'm not knocking people. It just wasn't my vibe. It wasn't my jam. And so I learned other ways, different ways to get my business out there.
Good.
Been doing that for 17 years.
Yeah, holy crap, huh? 17 years.
17
And
years.
yeah, so, yep. So, folks, so if you're listening and you're saying, well, Phil always says try to network with people. Well, you don't have to do it that way. There's more
Mhm.
than one way to be successful. So, I love that about you. And you've always kind of marched to the beat of what works for you, which is why your business is what's within you. No, I mean that, right?
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah.
And I love
Yeah.
that. I think that's so, so important. So
Thank you.
let's take us back, right? What's
Yeah.
within you? Tell me how that started. Like, why did that begin?
Oh, why did it begin? Wow. Well, it began about 17 years ago. And, it began by accident in many respects. Prior to coaching, I was co-owner in a internet production company where we were doing message boards and focus groups online before Facebook was a thing. And we were working with people in the coaching industry, and they kept saying to me, Pam, why aren't you coaching? Why aren't you coaching? And I kept saying, because I'm working on my master's in industrial organizational psychology. Say that 10 times fast, I dare you. Um,
No.
and after the fourth person that said, Pam, why aren't you coaching? I thought, okay, the universe is trying to tell me something, and I better sit up and pay attention. And so there was this thing that I'd been doing my whole entire life. Well, not my whole entire life, but a good majority of it. And I didn't know it had a name. And so that's how What's Within You became What's Within You. And I
Wow.
started out working with people in transition because I was going through some major transitions. And it's morphed into mindset coaching, which has been
That's
fun.
awesome.
It's been fun. Yeah.
That's cool. So what the
Yeah.
heck is I have to
What's
I have to
mindset?
get this right. So your book is developing a confident mindset, which I love. It's
Hmm.
super good. I read it again this morning to prep for
Thank
our
you.
conversation. You're welcome. And so mindset, like first let's start there. Like what is a confident mindset? Why
A
does it matter?
confident mindset. Well, what that means is that's what we think about ourselves. It's what we think, what we feel, and what we believe. Because what we think and believe impacts how we feel, which ultimately impacts how we show up in this world. And so, the thing is, we're constantly telling ourselves stories, whether we realize it or not. And so, a confident mindset is building that mindset where, yeah, negative stories are going to happen, but we don't get derailed by them. We push through them anyway.
There we go. Well, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good. That's doable, right? So one of the
absolutely.
things that I think is fun that you talk about in the book and also kind of a smack in the face is you say you are what you eat. So talk to me about that. What does that mean, Pam? Because that was like, come on, Pam. Really?
Well, okay. So, Philly, we hear that all the time. You are what
Yeah.
you eat. I grew up with that saying. You are what you eat. And when I think about mindset, it rings a bell for me because what we tell ourselves ultimately impacts again how we feel and how we show up. So if we're feeding our minds negative crap, we're going to feel crappy. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Really? Like
Yes.
really, it's that simple. So okay, all right.
I
But
didn't say changing the thought was that simple. I just
yeah.
said the
Okay. All
concept
right.
is that
All
simple.
right. I'll give you that. So no, I can get behind that. Right. The
Right.
idea is that simple because yeah, to your point, right? It's not as simple as just changing your thoughts. But I think one of the things that resonated with me, and this was helpful to me because I get in my own head. I think we all do. And you said you're not your thoughts.
No. You're absolutely not your thoughts. And I think that's where we get tripped up. I used to think, I mean, I've been on this quest since the time I was 10. That's over 4 decades because I'm going to be 55 at the end of this month. Amazing. I have been on this quest since the time I was 10 years old to figure out why I kept having negative thoughts. And I really felt like there was something wrong with me as a person because I couldn't understand how to get rid of them. And we are not our thoughts. What that is, it's something that is pre-wired in our brains. It's called negative bias, to get geeky on you. And that is where we get that from our prehistoric ancestors, where we had to be on high alert for things like saber-toothed tiger attacks. Exactly. We don't have to worry about that now. But what we do worry about is whenever we step outside our comfort zone, whenever we step outside our comfort zone, that negative bias comes into play to protect us, to keep us safe. And it's a preconceived notion that, oh my God, if I put myself out there, I'm going to fail. Those negative thoughts, that negative bias, that's what protects us ultimately. And so that's why I say we aren't our thoughts. We aren't. We all have negative thoughts. We're never going to get rid of them. We just, and here's the thing, the negative thoughts aren't the problem. It's what we allow them to do to us that becomes the issue.
There we go. So, okay. So I can get behind that and I can understand that, right? My limbic brain can figure that out. So, but then we got these triggers. We get these triggers that like, come on, like, ah! So talk to me about those triggers for negativity and how we can help overcome those.
Oh my gosh, we all have them. There are things that, maybe we inherited from, our parents or people that we were close to. Maybe we were made fun of in school. And so understanding that getting in front of people, that's a trigger to feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to be made fun of. So I'm not going to do that. I think what's really important is paying attention to the triggers. And here's how we do that. First of all, we have to be really present. Okay. We can't be 5,000 feet in the future or in the past. We have to be right here and tuning into how we feel. I tell clients this all the time. Your emotions are the best GPS system you've got. If you're feeling crappy, there's a reason for it. Check in. Have you been triggered? Is there a negative narrative playing in your head? Because the awareness piece is key in stopping the trigger or paying attention to the trigger, and B, stopping the negative narrative. So we got to be aware.
Okay. So being in the present, you said that, and that seems like, well, where the heck else can I be? But I would say it's not that easy. So, or not that simple even. So how do we do that? How do we get present? Like if we're all over the place and thinking about yesterday and tomorrow and everything, but how do
Yeah.
we get clear and get back to the present?
Well, I think it's a practice. So the one thing we have learned about our brains is that they're plastic and we can rewire them. So it is a matter of building a new neural pathway, and it's an exercise. So making sure, and I used to do this all the time. I used to put it in my calendar like it was a client, where it would trigger me to go, okay, get present. What are you seeing right now? What are you feeling right now? What's going on around you right now? And the more I did that, the more it became a habit, to the point where I didn't have to think about it anymore. And so I think that's really something that's very helpful, is recognizing that sometimes we need to create a habit or a practice of getting present. Also, as we do that, we become more self-aware, and self-awareness is so critical. Self-awareness is being able to understand how we are right now and how that translates into the world and the impact it has. And so the more presence we create in this world, the more self-awareness we create. And as we keep doing that, that really helps with not just the present moment and being present, but the stories and being able to spot when a negative narrative is creeping in.
Okay. Okay. So a lot of people that listen and watch, including me, actually, as I
Mhm.
rewatch, right? We do sales, right? Now I would argue it probably everybody does sales, but not everybody believes that. So some of those negative thoughts are right. They don't want to talk to me.
Mhm.
The product or service isn't great, or I'm not the best person for this. So take me through an exercise for getting more present so that I can get past that crap.
Well, okay, so the first thing I would ask you to look at is, what's the truth? So I like to ask a magic question. Right. So tell me again, one thing that you might be thinking as you're picking up the phone to make a sales call.
They don't want to talk to me.
Okay. What would you see or what would you feel if you didn't feel that they didn't want to talk to you?
What would I see or what would I feel if I didn't think
Your
that they didn't
choice.
want to talk to me? Yeah. Well, I guess I'd see them answering the phone, right?
Okay.
And I'd probably feel more energized and probably feel more like, like I'm talking to you.
Awesome. That's one way to get present. And one of the things you've just done is you have counteracted that negative narrative. Negative narratives serve a purpose. They're there to give us some data. And our job is to extract the data that's truthful data. So for me, okay, when I first started coaching for the first year, when I was talking to my mentor coach every week, there was a little voice inside my head that went, "Yeah, you suck as a coach. There's no way on God's green earth you could ever manage." And I really appreciated my coach because she was the one that really helped me to shine a light on that narrative and to find out what's the truth, what's really the truth. And the thing that I recognized about that story is the truth is coaching was important to me and I want to be good at it. So with this narrative of they're not going to want to talk to me, what's the truth? What's the truth?
Okay. Okay. So we get clear on our truth.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, how do we want to feel? How do we want to be? How do we want to believe? So
Mm-hmm.
how does that, I don't know, how does that help our truth? How does that help, like, how does mindset impact actual behavior? Help
Well,
me
because
out
if,
here.
if you think about it, when we're feeling confident, that translates in the energy and how we show up. So when you're feeling that confidence, when you go through the dialogue, okay, this person's not going to want to talk to me. Well, what would I see or what would I feel if I didn't feel or see that this person didn't want to talk to me? Well, I'd see them picking up the phone, as you said, and I'd feel more energized. Well, what does that feeling of energized do for you in how you show up? Do you still pick up the phone or do you leave it on the receiver?
Yeah, for sure, right? If I got full energy, I'm picking it up, baby. We're talking. Let's go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's what mindset does. If the most powerful words come after I am. And so if you're saying things like, well, I am a terrible salesperson. I'm terrible at building my business. You're going to feel that. You're going to feel that. And that's going to impact how you see yourself, and that's going to impact what you do. And there's an actual analogy that I use in the book, which you probably read. It's the mirror analogy. So I'm gonna do this with you, Philly, because you and I have known each other a long time.
Long time.
Okay, you got a favorite pair of glasses? Because I know
Sure.
you got
Of
many.
course.
Okay, you
Yeah,
got your
absolutely.
favorite pair of glasses.
Yep.
Okay, you get up one morning and you're thinking, I'm gonna slay the day. I'm excited. I got a great night's sleep. The wife and I are really humming along. The kids are great. The dogs are doing well. I'm going to slay the day. And you put on your pair of glasses and you stand in front of the mirror and you're sweating yourself. You're like, I look fantastic. These glasses are great. They're my signature. People are going to love me. That's going to impact how you show up in the world. And are you going to stand up straight or are you going to slump over? Let me ask.
Yeah, well, of course, right? You stand up straighter, sit up straighter, right? If I'm taking Zoom calls, yeah.
Okay, so let's go a week ahead. And you get out of bed. I'm not saying this is actually going to happen, so I'm not putting it out there. You and the wife have an argument the night before. You go to sleep thinking about it. You ruminate over it. You toss and turn. You don't get a lot of sleep. You get out of bed. The dog has left a toy on the floor that you step on because you're not seeing it because you're thinking about the fight that you had last night. The kids are screaming at each other. You think, I'm going to put on that awesome, sweet pair of glasses that I know always lifts my mood. You stand in front of the mirror and you go, oh my God, what was I thinking? Those glasses look terrible. It, the glasses didn't change, and neither did you. What changed was the mindset and how you woke up and that negative narrative that was going on in your head.
Yeah.
Does that make
Oh,
sense?
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. But I mean, is it as simple as just changing our mindset to change our outcome? Or does
I
it
think,
just change the feeling? I mean, I'm just, from a science, I guess, again, as a seller, right, I want to close deals. So
of
how
course,
does mindset help me close deals?
it's in what you think, and ultimately, what you think impacts how you feel. Okay, so if you're thinking the crappy stuff, that's gonna not that's you're not gonna show up feeling confident. And so part of what we need to do is experiment with things to help you move up the mindset ladder. You're not going to come out of the gate going from feeling crappy to feeling great. And I think that's really important to recognize because a lot of people think I'm doing it wrong because I'm not feeling ultimately stellar after the end of something. It's about moving incrementally up. And it's about seeing the small things, it's about the wins. So it's about, again, looking at the truth. So I might ask myself, well, what makes me a good coach? And so I have that evidence of what makes me a good coach that I can start to feel better about, and that I can then look at, and that helps me to feel more confident. If I'm not able to name something, I may think about, well, okay, if right now I'm not feeling confident, how do I want to feel in this moment? Well, I want to feel a little bit more peaceful. Okay, great. Peaceful's better than not feeling confident. What's going to help me to feel peaceful right now? Well, taking some deep breaths is going to help me to feel peaceful. Anything I can do that's going to get me out of the negative a little bit more. And the more I do it, the more I start to create that new neural pathway in my brain. So the next time that story tries to rear its head where I think, oh, I suck as a coach, the neural pathway it uses is weakened because I've told my brain, we're not going there. We're going to incrementally move up. I'm going to feel peaceful. Then I'm going to feel joy. Then I'm going to feel excited. Then I'm going to feel really confident, whatever the case may be. Does that make sense? I
Yeah,
feel like
no,
I'm
that
talking in circles.
no, no, not at all. I think you're hitting on an important point here, and that's one of the points that sometimes I miss, and I bet a lot of people miss, and that is the incrementalness of improvement, right? The
Yeah,
incrementalness of the feeling, and that this is an exercise, much like the first time maybe you lifted 50 pounds of weight, right? So
absolutely.
it's the first time you're not going to be able to lift it, but hopefully, if you could lift 5 pounds yesterday, you can lift 7 pounds today, and maybe 10 pounds the next day. If you are feeling bad, the goal is to feel a little better, right? You mentioned I want
Absolutely.
to feel more at peace, and I think as we unlock this, I think that's the key piece here. Is you talk about that ladder of mindset, and I
Hmm.
think that's really important for folks to hear. Is that this is not just a switch you
No,
flip.
no,
This is not just fake it till you make it.
no.
This is really building a new practice when you feel like crap, when you feel less than awesome,
Hmm.
so that you can help feel better,
Feel
whatever
better.
better is. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's absolutely correct. And I love the fact that you use the gym and lifting weights because you're absolutely right. You're not going to come out of the gate lifting a heavy weight. It's going to take some time to build up that muscle. It's the same thing with this. It's going to take some time to build up that confident mindset and recognizing there is absolutely nothing wrong with you if out of the gate you can't be confident or don't feel confident. And the other thing that I want people to understand is this: confidence ebbs and flows. It's not something that we always necessarily maintain. And because you can't maintain it 100% of the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, does not mean you're not a confident person. That just means that something else is going on that needs to be paid attention to, whatever that is. So, if you're not confident 24/7, that's okay. That's natural. That's natural. It's going to ebb and flow like our mood ebbs and flows.
Good. No, that's good. That's helpful to hear because sometimes, right, we think that we have to be positive all the time, and we're not talking about toxic positivity here,
No,
where
God,
like
no.
everything is shiny and happy,
No.
right? As my grandma would always say, it's not always going to be flowers and sausages. So this is right. This is an ebb and a flow thing here.
Yes,
So good. That's
it
good.
is.
So Andy has a question though. Andy says, how can we help others be more positive in their mindset? Obviously, we can just control ourselves. I know
Yeah.
that. I know you're going to
Yeah.
say that. But how do we help, right? How do we be a coach, a guide, a resource for others so they can be more positive?
Oh, that's Andy, great question. And I think this is a perfect question for leaders in particular, who are working with teams. It's helping people to see their strengths. And it may be a matter of just showing them at first, you know, authentically and genuinely sharing with them, hey, good job there. Wow, your communication skills were stellar. Whatever the case may be, helping them to understand and see the things that they do really well. And that's really helpful. The other thing too is modeling the way, as people who are in business with other people, modeling the way, helping people to see, I have my bad days too, but here are some things that I'm doing right now, and being vulnerable and authentic, and transparent about those things. That helps other people, because when we're modeling the way for other people, we're giving people permission to show up as themselves, as we're showing up as ourselves. And I tell my clients this all the time. I am not 150% confident all the time. There are days when I will get up and go, ew, I really stink at this right now. And I recognize that. And I tell them that there are days when I feel that way. Does that mean it's every day? No. But I'm modeling the way for them to understand that, we're all human. And, there are good things and there are bad things. And we can be authentic and transparent with the folks that we're helping to support and being positive. But so there's two things that I just said: modeling the way for them, and also being able to share with them how we see them, and helping them to take that in and to acknowledge the goodness. Because as people, we have a hard time sometimes receiving the good, and so helping them to stop and soak it in.
Yeah, and I think being really specific, perhaps, in what we see
Mm-hmm.
and how that is impactful, I think is
Yeah.
also helpful because, you mentioned, asking yourself what is the truth. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people that feel more negative than positive often forget the truth and they're
Yeah.
looking for more evidence. They're looking for more truth. They're looking for a different truth. So the more specific we can be in what we say to them, the more they
Absolutely.
can see that. Is that what you coach as well, Pam?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. Because here's the thing, your brain acts like Google. So if you're feeding it information, it's going to give you all sorts of data as evidence. And usually it's evidence of negative stories and the way we feel. So if we're helping people to see themselves in a different light, and sometimes just asking them questions, just being curious and leaning in. Hey, I'm just curious, what's driving that, the way you're feeling right now, or what's driving that thought, or what drove you to say that? I'm just curious. And helping them to unpack that themselves can also be a great way to help turn some of that negative narrative around. Because oftentimes when we're just being curious with another human being, they start to discover some truths of their own.
Yeah. Yeah, you say that really well in the book. You say curiosity killed the cat and really kind of helped us build a new narrative. So unpack that a little bit more for us so we can bring the cat back to life. Let's resuscitate the cat.
Yeah, curiosity didn't kill the cat. It killed the negative narrative. And I think curiosity is really a very powerful tool. When we can get curious about something, we aren't attached to it. We aren't as attached to it as we are if we look at it from a place of fact. Okay. Our brain doesn't know fact from fiction. So if I'm sitting there saying I suck as a coach, my brain's going to go, okay, yeah, sure, you do. Here's all sorts of evidence. If I can get curious about it, like for example, well, what makes me a good coach? I'm getting curious. I'm just asking the question. I'm not attached to the answer. If I can get curious about, what it is I'm feeling, hey, I'm wondering what's driving this. Huh, that's interesting. I'm not attached to it. That curiosity provides me with an opportunity to look at it from a different perspective, as opposed to this is the way it is, it's a set way, and that's the way I'm going to look at it.
Yeah, so we can be curious both about ourselves as far as how
Mhm.
we view it, as well as we can be help others by being more curious with them and helping
Absolutely.
them see that. So that's awesome. That's
Absolutely.
really helpful and really actionable and something that we can do. So if we're looking to get started, in being more confident and developing this confident mindset. You offered a lot of great stuff today, Pam. You encourage us to, think about what we eat, right? What we tell ourselves. You talk to us about being present, moving the incrementalness up, that it's more of a ladder, and that's important. What is the truth? How do I feel, and what's going to help me feel that? And then you closed up there with be curious. But if there's one thing you want to drive back home, or one thing you want to say, okay, I didn't say this, but this would be a great way to get started, what would that be?
I think one of the best things we can do for ourselves, and this is something that sometimes is a challenge, is to make sure that we're doing something to take care of ourselves. Because at the end of the day, the negative narrative is 10 times stronger when our batteries are drained. And so, even if we're just taking 10 minutes out of our day to sit and breathe or listen to music or do something that is nourishing to our brains and our bodies, that's going to go a long way to helping deal with the negative narrative because you're less susceptible when you're recharged.
Wow. Super actionable, super helpful. Take some time for yourself, 5, 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
That's plenty. So folks, if you're loving Pam like I do, I encourage you to check her out on Instagram. She's got a lot of great stuff. She's authentically Pam. There are no underscores, no dashes, no spaces, just authentically Pam. You can also go to what's within you, the letter u.com, and get to know her more. She's super helpful. She's a great mindset coach and someone that I am grateful to know and grateful to learn from. Pam, thank you for investing some time in us today. I so appreciate you, my friend.
Oh, and I appreciate you, Phil. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks again.